Hey guys, this is Kat with Kick-Ass Life Project. I am so glad you're here today. So, you know me, I'm going to get right into things. If you ever want to know more about me and what I do, then you go to kickasslifeproject.com. Today, we're talking about leveraging your momentum. So, this is a really empowering message. It's about keeping yourself on track towards your biggest goals. And it's about how well you tap into the power of momentum in your life because it's there. It's either working for you or against you. You probably notice it a bit when it's working against you, but it can work for you as well. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is teaching you how to make it work for you. Keep in mind, we all go through this. I go through this. We have those times where we're on a good streak and feeling like, oh yeah, I got this. But then it all just falls apart, right? So it can be sometimes the hardest thing in the world just to get off of our butt, out of the chair, off of the couch, and go and get food, let alone healthy food. Positive or negative, it's all about how you leverage the momentum that's in your life. So I would like to share with you some tips, ideas, strategies, blah, 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 about how we're going to make it work for you. Getting started, there's three different areas I really want to focus on. First, the power of a streak. So the streak is going to be really, really helpful because it's going to create something called positive pressure in your life. This is when those positive habits that you are doing are actually creating positive results and getting you what you want, need, and desire out of your life. Secondly, activating your momentum with a challenge. Yeah, we're going to talk about pushing those comfort zones. Sorry, we're going to be doing new things and yeah, pushing the comfort zones. What's that? There's how many sayings are there about, life begins at the end of your comfort zone, all that sort of crap? Well, yeah, it does. So, third, finally, 10 momentum killers to avoid. So they're not going to stop you from getting on this powerful streak that I'm going to talk about right now. So the power of a streak, I'm going to use a really common example I think most of you can probably relate to, and that is flossing. Flossing your teeth. Now, I'm betting that most of you do not have a problem brushing your teeth. Unless you are a 16-year-old boy, you probably are not having a problem brushing your teeth. It's a habit. You don't even think about it. You do it. It's not a big deal. But that extra little chore of flossing, it would be nice. It's not really going to impact you if you don't do it today. You just have to do it enough that the dental hygienist doesn't give me crap. So, what if we really wanted to floss every day? Because we know it's good for us, right? This is where the power of a streak can kick in really efficiently. The flossing example, it's an easy to create habit. We're going to do it every single day right before you go to bed, maybe when you wake up in the morning. This is how you activate the power of a streak. And in the flossing example, you would say to yourself, starting today, I'm going to floss every single day. Now you do it on day one. You force yourself. You don't really like it, but it's 1 minute. Whatever, you said you were going to do it, you do it. You convince yourself to do it, right? And then you do it the next day and the third day. Now, the fourth day is usually when this little psychological trigger trick kicks in your mind and says, I've done this for a few days in a row now. Think I'm on a little bit of a streak. Don't really want to break that. What you are doing here is creating something called positive pressure. So the pressure is kind of like a self-identifier. It's like saying, hey, I've done this thing. Really didn't take a lot of effort, but I've got this day after day in a row of success banked, and the pressure starts to increase the more days go by with you successfully doing it. So now failing to do it actually becomes painful, and this is where you're leveraging this amazing psychological trick, because yes, we are always tricking our brain. If you want the best results out of things, you're going to trick your brain all the time. But it's okay, you can do it. It's really easy to trick yourself. You just have to know how. So when you leverage this psychological trick on yourself, it says doing or not doing my new habit is going to be worse than keeping it going. So for something like flossing, a minute of your time, it's not a huge thing out of your life. It's not that difficult to keep it going. But this is what positive pressure does. It's the catalyst that gets you into a state of momentum. Now, the flossing is just one example, but you can use this in much bigger areas that have much bigger impacts on your life. Things like your financial situation, your relationship, and yes, your weight loss goals as well. Flossing probably helps with that, by the way. PS there. So I want you to think about how your streaks are currently impacting you. Are you using them to your advantage? Or are those streaks using you in a negative way, causing you to create a pattern that's actually blocking you from success, blocking you from taking the actions that you really want to be taking to achieve your goals? These are your goals. You want them. So you have to make sure that these streaks are not working against you. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about activating momentum, and we're going to do that with challenges. So this is the second phase of things. We need challenges to break us out of our current patterns. It makes you look at your life and say, I need to do something new. I need to create a new ritual, a new habit. I'm going to start today with something simple. Now, there is the key. I really, really suggest when you pick your challenge, you create momentum in your life. And if you want to keep it going in a positive direction, pick something that's not going to be a huge amount of effort, especially from a time perspective. So as I go through this, I want you to start thinking about various challenges that you might want to take on in your life right now that are going to help you move closer to your goal, but challenges that can be accomplished in relatively short periods of time, because these are not going to be things that you're currently doing all the time. If it's not currently part of your active habit set, then you want to be able to use the momentum to your advantage. So I'm going to have a little challenge for you at the end of this presentation. It's going to sort of kickstart you and stuff. So again, as I'm going through these next momentum killers, I want you to be sort of thinking about a challenge you might want to take on. So 10 momentum killers that you have to avoid if you want to leverage the power of momentum in your life. First one is procrastination. The ironic thing is that the best way to overcome procrastination is to create momentum. The longer you wait to begin a project or a new way of life or a new habit, the more difficult it becomes. Procrastination creates resistance, and resistance is that little voice in your head that's always saying, yeah, but. Okay? So we want to avoid creating the resistance. The faster we can get going with things, the better. There's a saying that money loves speed. Everything loves speed. It's better to start and start ugly than not start at all. Okay, so we don't want procrastination. Fear. Fear is the next momentum killer. I'm not saying this right. Fear is the next killer to momentum that we want to avoid. There we go. My tongue is back in. See, and there you go. There's a perfect example of doing things and not being perfect. I can give you many, many of those if you hang around me long enough. Fear causes you to quit what you're doing. It actually gets you maybe even so that it stops what you're capable of doing. You can be stopped before you even start, right? So the best way to deal with fear is action. One step at a time. Again, little things. So ask yourself, what would happen if you were really brave enough to create some momentum with just a little thing? You're going to find such positive results from pushing through the fear. Success. I know that sounds ridiculous, right? Success is a momentum killer. But it can be. When you actually achieve something, your brain goes into this, I've arrived. The passion is now dwindling for me to accomplish more. I'm there. Well, the best thing you can do after a success in your life is to make a new challenge, to make another goal. And the great news about this is your human brain is hardwired to never be satisfied. If you think right now, life would be good if I just made an extra 10 grand a year, or life would be good if I just lost an extra 10 pounds. Here's the thing. When you get there to that greener pasture, it's never enough. You always want more. You always want better. So there you go. That's your human brain. Instead of fighting it, work with it. set yourself a new goal every time you reach one goal. The next momentum killer is routine. Now, I'm not going to say a ton about this one. This one's just it's that whole mindful thing. When you get into routines and you're just going through life without really thinking, we don't want to do that. Stop and think about what you're doing every once in a while. Fifth one is bad habits. Now, this seems obvious, right? Do you have any bad habits? I betcha I do. And I'm sure you do as well. So what I want to kind of hit on here is that it's actually easier, instead of trying to stop bad habits, it's actually easier to add good ones. Because it's just sort of like grass. The more grass seeds you plant, it chokes out the weeds, right? So the more good habits you incorporate into your life, they sort of choke out the bad habits. And you're not really focusing on stopping one, you're just focusing on adding good ones. This is where my Healthy Habits program, every week you get a new habit, has nothing to do with exercise, has everything to do with you losing weight and living a really positive, healthy life. So I have the world's most effective habit building system, and that's exactly what it is. So every week a new habit, and it gets you to check in every day, so you are creating a streak. So if you want to know more about that, go to kickasslifeproject.com, and it's all about adding those positive habits in a really, really easy way. Moving on to number 6, distractions. Perfect time to talk about distractions after I just got off on that tangent about the Healthy Habits program. The Healthy Habits Club is what I'm calling it. So the only way to deal with and overcome the distractions in your life is just don't let them. So think about the major distractions that are in your life right now that are keeping you from your goals. TV, saying yes too often, being on the internet or Facebook too much. Use your willpower whenever positive, some positive self-talk if needed. Just notice when distraction is impacting you, and then take a small action in the other direction to keep your momentum going. Negative self-talk. Now, I've already alluded to this a little bit. There are many ways to turn negative self-talk into positive self-talk. Meditation is great for a lot of people. Just you can't just be positive every day. It's something you have to feed to yourself every day. Don't you eat every day? Feed yourself positive stuff every day. And that might mean pushing back a little bit against the negative elements of your life, whether that's a relationship, pushing out of your comfort zone because of a little bit of lack of self-confidence that you need to practice, whatever it is for you. Motivation cannot survive if you are constantly living with negative self-talk. Catch yourself when you're in those patterns. Do an opposite day thing. Whenever you hear the negative self-talk, say the exact opposite in your head. What is the exact opposite of the negative self-talk you just said? And say that a few times and see how it feels. And it will feel really weird and wrong at first, and you will have the resistance will come up, the yeah but. That's okay. Right now it's just about being aware. Lack of motivation is the 8th momentum killer. So you might think of a great idea. You know you want to make it take off. It all sounds good. You're going to be financially sound for the rest of your life if you act on it or whatever. But if you're not motivated to back it up with action, then you might as well give that idea to somebody else, right? So if you've ever had an idea like that, motivation can create momentum, but also vice versa. So you want to make sure that at least in the initial phases, and especially when we get to the challenge part of this presentation, that you use the motivation to give yourself, you use the momentum to give yourself a sense of motivation as well. But you also want to, I guess what I'm saying is you have to love this goal. Whatever it is you're working on, it has to motivate you. Sometimes you might have to create it out of thin air, changing what you're focusing on, changing the way you use your body. However you need to behave and act and think and feel to create motivation, it will give you momentum, so do it. but use it to your advantage. Don't allow a lack of motivation to get in the way. Find that motivation to create the momentum. Failure. So we've got success in there. Now let's talk about failure. Failure at something you attempt can be the death of momentum, right? Or it can be the catalyst that turns your failure into success. Fear of failure prevents greatness from happening. Think about the past failures, how you handled them, whether it was a relationship or a business or your weight loss goals. What did you do? Did you move on or get stuck in doubt and fear? Or did you proceed a little more confidently because you'd learned a lesson? How would you do it differently this time? The biggest thing about failure is to realize you cannot fail. This is an experiment. So a failure is either a lesson in what doesn't work or a lesson in something you need to practice a few more times. Okay, so it's really, failure is not failure. Failure is moving you forward as long as you let it. Finally, apathy. Apathy has ruined relationships, caused businesses to fail. It's the main reason that many teams lose big games. With apathy, momentum is going to fail, and excuses take over your thoughts of success. So you can fight apathy. You have to do it by always keeping your vision of what you want to achieve in your mind and then reflect that in your actions. It's going to happen easily or more easily for you as you use the power of momentum in your life. Now, getting on to our momentum challenge. This is the final piece here. So I want you to think back to my dental floss example. It was actually a really powerful example because it uses the idea of doing something repeatedly, day in and day out, for just a few short days to create that positive pressure to the point where now you don't want to stop because you've got all these banked up dates of successes. So with your momentum challenge, if you really want to see what the power of momentum can do for you, I want you to focus on the number 3. Now this is my favorite number, but it's also a psychological number. So start with 3 days. Starting today, for the next 3 days, you are going to do something to create momentum for yourself towards a goal. Now, I'll use the flossing example, but it could be anything. It could be something that you do or something that you want to stop doing for the next 3 days. So what I suggest is you take out a piece of paper and a pen, or your phone, or something you can write down something, and make a list of various habits or ideas that you could use in this momentum challenge. Pick activities or actions or habits that you can perform in relatively short periods of time, each and every day, for the next 3 days. So your goal, and even if you have to force yourself to do it, you're going to take action on this every single day for 3 days so that you can get on that streak. Now, once day 4 comes, I want you to pay attention to your psychology. I want you to pay attention to what's happening to you from the perspective of momentum. You've had 3 wins in a row. The pressure of losing those 3 wins will actually help you propel yourself forward to the point where you'll want to do it again for day number 4. Now, if it's not quite there yet, just keep doing it, because maybe the number for you is 6 or 9. I don't know what it is for you. But I want you to keep doing it to the point where you no longer want to stop doing this thing, because the positive pressure is there to see how long you can keep going. You don't want to lose out on all this work you've already done, so you want to keep going. Now, the number 3 is your initial target, but like I said, if you need to keep going until you reach that point of not wanting to stop, then do that. And that is an experiment in itself. What is the number for you? Because we're all unique, and that is the point of so much that I teach, and especially this the crazy kick-ass journey that we're doing for a year. If you're watching this in the fall of 2017, then we are starting on this challenge, and it's all about discovering you, what works for you. Treat your life as an experiment and discover you. If that momentum streak for you is not day 4, what day is it? You need to know this about yourself. Now, I want you to use all the tactics and techniques that I've told you about in this presentation to keep you going, keep you on track, and help you avoid the things that are going to take you away from the challenge. Best of luck with it. I wish you massive success, and I really look forward to hearing about all of the different things that you guys are doing. Let me know, what is your number where your streak is really important to you to keep going, and what habit is it that you're doing? What are these little things that you are doing towards your goals? Have an awesome day, guys. I will see you over at kickasslifeproject.com.